All right, welcome to South Texas High School Baseball. We're episode 4 today. Got Marcus Zarate, my partner, and we have former MLB player, now trainer, coach for the Banditos organization, Wyatt Mathisen. So he's going to tell us a little bit about his journey through to his baseball playing days, from Calallen to the minor leagues, to a couple of MLB teams he played for. So we got a couple of questions for him. We're going to talk some baseball. Maybe some off the subject stuff, but Marcus, what's your first question, man? I'll let you ask him the first question. Well, first, Wyatt, tell us a little bit about yourself, and so forth. Your age and that.
So my name is Wyatt Mathisen. I played at Calallen. Graduated in 2012. Was part of a couple good runs there at Calallen. Got drafted in the second round out of high school to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I spent my first 7 and 8 years with the Pirates, all in the minor leagues.
Yes,
I got up to AAA. My contract with them finally ran up. I signed with the Diamondbacks. Had a couple, my 2 biggest years in the minor leagues for sure in AAA with them. And then I got called up in the COVID year in 2020. Played, parts of 2 years between 2020 and 2021 in the big leagues. 2022 was a zoo, 4 different teams in 6 months.
Wow.
So
I saw 1 year in the minor leagues you hit like 23 bombs.
Yeah, that was my first year with the Diamondbacks, 2019. They call it the juiced ball, juiced ball year. But I hit some balls good that year.
That's all that matters. You hit 23 home runs.
Yeah, no one knows that except for the players, so it's okay. But no, that was the year that sort of put me on the map with the Diamondbacks, and they knew I was a good player going in, but then I sort of proved them right. And then the next year I got COVID, sort of messed some stuff up obviously early, and we didn't start till July. So, but I ended up still getting called up that year. So it was nice, at least getting rewarded for that year before and getting back to the big leagues. And now I'm sort of, finished out 2022. And then this last year I've been pretty much retired, coaching travel baseball now, doing private hitting and catching lessons. Really enjoying doing this, doing the travel ball stuff, being a part of the Banditos. It's been it's cool seeing it from the other side.
Right.
Almost wish you could see it from the other side before you play, so you can really appreciate certain things and what coaches are trying to do for you, and see it from that lens before you're a player. But it's really cool to be on this side of it, because it's just, you see what changing kids' lives, getting to commit to college and stuff like that. That's been the coolest part, is seeing having my first 3 dudes commit to U of H that I sort of pushed to get there. And I think I got more emotional seeing that, honestly, than I did. I almost cried, seeing the Oliveras
being
brothers.
A parent,
Yeah, exactly what it was. That's what it felt like. When the Oliveras brothers committed to Houston from London, I got more emotional then than I did on my own debut. When I got called up, when I got called up, it was all right, cool, about time. But with them, I almost broke down in tears, and I was like, oh, maybe this is what I was meant to do. This is what I really was supposed to do. So. Yeah.
And I mean, you have the experience, you went through it and all.
Yeah.
So, quick question before Marcus gets you. So, let's start at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Were you a multi-sport athlete growing up? You're here from the Coastal Bend area, South Texas, or did you know you're just going to do straight baseball? Boom.
I played basketball and baseball pretty much my whole life. I played 1 year of football in 8th grade, and then that ended up, not doing that after that 1 year. But I played basketball and baseball pretty much from 8 years old till my junior year of high school. But I always knew I was gonna be a baseball player. I played basketball just because I really did like that too. But I knew
that was more for fun.
Yeah, that was just for fun. Sort of it's in the off season most of the time for baseball. So it was something to do, even though But I think the biggest thing that I never considered myself a one sport athlete, but I really was at the same time, because I never stopped training for baseball. That's why I think there's a big difference in kids these days compared to whenever I played. Even I had teammates that did it too, that even if it was football season or even if it was basketball season, it didn't matter. We weren't missing our off-season baseball training. We weren't missing going to the cage. We weren't missing going and doing our lessons.
Still made time for it.
Oh yeah, because that's what we knew. That's what really mattered. We knew that basketball, football, whatever it was sort of just a hobby-esque sport, and not what we were trying to get to to get free college or to get to pro ball. And that's sort of where I think a lot of times people just focus on one, they focus on that one sport they're playing that time, and then they expect, all right, it's springtime, baseball's here, let's turn it on. It's baseball's not like that. It's way too hard to do something like that.
The repetitive, that's the reps.
So so I was a multi-sport athlete, but not I knew I was gonna be a baseball player. I'm not 6'6", I'm not gonna play in the NBA, but I knew 7, 8 years old I was gonna play in the big leagues, because it was just that's what I love to do. And it was like, I might not make it, but I'm going to do everything in my power. And my parents are going to do everything in their power to get me to the big leagues.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
that was, So I was a multi-sport athlete in theory.
Marcus?
Yeah. First of all, Wyatt, thanks for being on. I know you're in
Absolutely.
the process of moving to Houston, so we appreciate you carving out some time to be
For
here.
sure.
Man, in that little rundown you just gave, you covered pretty much half the notes.
Hey, but we can still go through
No,
it.
yeah, you go, because I got plenty. Yeah, I got plenty of.
Yeah. I guess first thing I wanted to ask was kind of talk about your experience while you were in high school at Calallen, playing for Chapman, kind of your 4 years. I know you talked about a couple deep runs. I know within those 4 years, Calallen and Carroll were like two of the
those
top
are those.
dogs
Yeah, I
in the
remember
state
that.
and the nation, being nationally ranked, and then y'all got to play in a tournament, I think it was.
Exhibition game.
there you go.
It didn't go well for Carroll.
It did not. It did not.
It didn't go well.
But yeah, just talk about a little bit about your high school experience, some of the memories you had, and the deep runs that you guys made.
I mean, definitely the funnest baseball of my life, like for sure. Like because that's one thing about not going to college that I sort of missed, was that the competitiveness to win it all the time. Like in high school, that's all we cared about was winning. It wasn't about, like, in pro ball, you sort of get, winning's not that big of a priority in the minor leagues. It's more about just getting yours and like taking care of your business. And if the team loses 80 games, they lose 80 games. Like, who cares? It's about like you getting to the big leagues and like you're developing and it's not about like, oh my, because you play 140 games even in the minor league. So there's not like, oh, you won the single A World Series and no one cares. So like the high school part of it was the funnest because the competitiveness was there. Like we only play, for us, we play 40 something games after, getting to where we get to in the playoffs. It's like every game matters. Like losing one is not okay.
Right.
Like that's sort of what was so much fun about high school baseball, was that every game mattered. Like every single, like there was like losing one was unacceptable. Like my first loss in pro ball, I think we started like that little 80 game season you play in short season, like 2-0, and then we lost one, and I was mad. Like, I was like, what the heck? Like, we lost. And everybody's like, bro, relax.
Yeah.
Like, we got 70 more games. Like, and I'm sitting there like, oh. And you sort of get it. Like,
okay, it's different
you
now.
sort of get it. It's different. It's not like when we lose one game and Chapman takes us behind the mound and reams us, for losing one game.
Yeah.
But, like, that's what made it fun at Calallen, though, because that's what the expectation was.
So you were at Calallen from 12 to 16? or
2009 and 2012.
Oh, 9 to 12.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
you got to play with Courtney Hawk against Courtney Hawk.
Yeah, so that Carroll team, that Carroll team was essentially our original RBA Seahawk team with Will Rowland.
I remember that.
Like between
That's when they first started select baseball hardcore, right?
Yes,
like
us and Orlando Salinas had S3, and we were like the rivals of Corpus in that age. We were like pretty much the first age. There were some other older kids that had sort of played some travel baseball, but my age group with our group at RBA and Orlando's little group at S3 were the first two, like, big time. Like, we're traveling. Like, we're not just staying in Texas, really. We're not staying, in the local. Like, we're going out of state. And yeah, so that whole Carroll team pretty much was basically our travel ball team at 11 years old. Like, besides me. Like, where it got to the point whenever I was, like, we were getting close to high school, I'm thinking about, should I go to Carroll? Like, and play with all my – like, I've been playing with these guys for my whole life.
Right.
And so, yeah, me and Courtney played together 11, 12 – 14, and when we played against each other in high school, and then a bunch of those other guys, pretty much the whole Carroll, like that whole class, we all played together.
Yeah.
So it was, we played. That was the only time we played each other was our senior year, and what stinks for them is that was their best team that they had in 4 years, and that was like honestly for the 4 years I was at Cal, that was our worst team, and we still smacked them 10-1. Like, and they hear about it all the time when I talk. Like, or like the guys I train with at Carroll, like, bro, y'all didn't like it. Wasn't even a game. Like, it wasn't even. They're 10-1, and I didn't even pitch. They threw all three of their Courtney, Chris Cano. They threw all their horses at us. Bah, bah, bah. Like, it didn't matter. But I always give those guys a hard time because at the time when they were 5A and we were 4A, I'll say it till I die. 4A was way deeper back then than 5A was in this region for sure.
Oh,
yeah. Like we're playing Lake Travis. We're playing Lake Travis in the third round. We're playing Bernie Champion. They're playing. They're playing. Some not very good schools. All the way up to the regional finals.
Yep.
So I always gave all those guys. We all played together. It's still in high school, like in travel ball, and I always gave them a hard time.
Those years, y'all and Carroll both made numerous.
Yeah,
y'all went to state.
We went to state. We lost in the state finals my sophomore year and junior year, and we lost to Moody in the big huge series my freshman year.
Was that at Waterbury?
Waterbury,
I remember
10,
being
000,
there. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, that was And honestly, out of all the places that I played, that was the most hostile environment I've ever played in.
Wow.
By far. Like, it was like, because Moody's like, that's, that was Corpus school.
Yeah.
And like, we're sort of the outskirts.
Yeah,
like, we're sort of like the, the rival. Like, we're like, oh, everybody hates Calallen.
Yeah.
And so like, it was like, there are 10,000 people there. Probably 99,000 of them were probably rooting for Moody, and 1,000 were rooting for Calallen, maybe.
Yeah.
So it was.
So in your Calallen years also, so some of the guys that you played with, did they play college ball?
So my best friend lived across the street from me my whole life from 5 till we both graduated. We both played in the big leagues. Rob's a Strizzy. I don't know if Rob, yeah.
Is he's still there, right?
He's still, I think he's Pirates. He was with the Pirates this year.
He was
with the Pirates,
Pirates
and he was with I think he's with somebody else now, but we grew up across the street from each other our whole lives. And like that was like he was one of probably, and he could probably say the same thing if you got him on here, is that if we wouldn't have had each other, I don't think either of us would have played in the big leagues.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Because it was
each other.
It was from like 5 years old, 7 years old. Like we ended up never playing with each other in the big leagues. That was obviously all your dream as a kid is like, I'm gonna play with my best friend in the big leagues. But we both made it. Like from me to that wall where we lived across from each other. You don't see that very often, especially like in Corpus, like in a city, like smaller city like Corpus. You don't see like guys who live literally
and in the same
20
program.
yards. Oh, and they go to the same high school and everything. But no, we had my junior year. I think out of our starting 9 hitters, 7 went Division I.
Wow.
Off that one team.
Wow.
And then we had another pitcher that went JUCO, and then he went to St. Mary's for a little bit too. So I mean, like my junior team was definitely our most stacked team. Like it was, and then I mean we had between me and Rob, Tyler Neslone, he's in AAA right now. He was in my class, played at Texas Tech. He's we're like us three are like best friends. He's in AAA, and we had multiple guys. Like it's like I said, 7. My junior, 7 dudes in Division I baseball.
Nice.
Like
You don't
2
hear
years.
that very often.
No, it was sort of a joke, honestly. Like you see, like I know they're sort of using different bats now, but like I give a hard time to like Calallen kids because I coach a bunch of Calallen kids now, and then like my Carroll kids that play for me, like they hit 1 home, like no homers as a team, like 1 homer as a team.
Yeah.
Last year, like 1.
You're right.
We hit 65 in 40 games.
Wow.
Like we're hitting like 1.5 per game.
Right.
And they didn't hit 1 all season. So I always give all those kids, like, I'm like, y'all don't even get it. Like, y'all don't get, like, what it was like back then. Y'all don't get, like, when you roll up to Moody and, like, they're just, like, I mean, the most nervous at bat in my career was against Moody.
Right.
My freshman year, that
Who was
first
throwing against
Justin Mesa.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell everybody that.
He said he went pro, too.
Yeah, he played a little bit of minor league ball. I talk to Justin some still when I see him around the tournaments and stuff, but, like, I tell everybody, they're like, hey, like, were you nervous in the big leagues? I was like, not as nervous as I was in like my first at bat my freshman year against Justin Mesa at Whataburger Field. I thought he was sitting from me to you. That's how close the pitching was.
Damn.
It was like heater down the middle, take, slider in the other batter's box, swing and miss. And I was like, thank God that's over. And so no, the Calallen days, they were.
So talking about Calallen days too, I know a lot of talk. Coach Danner football, Coach Chapman baseball. So tell us a little bit about Coach Chapman. What he expected. What was his what's the recipe for success there? That they've been so good for so long, and they continue. I mean, they've had so many district champions in a row. I know they got cut short a little bit in the playoffs the past few years, but I mean, what's been the key to that? What does Chapman do that you think that just of course, like you said, hey man, we don't take a loss lightly.
Yeah.
What's the recipe there in Calallen that you made y'all so great, and y'all are still.
The scene. Remember the times where like he expects perfection,
right?
Like that's it. Like it's like in practice, everything like it's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like we don't like there's no room for like any mess ups.
It don't matter if you bad about or you make an error in practice. That's not acceptable.
No.
Okay,
it's so like like what it is like before you get there. I knew that when I was in 7th grade.
Wow.
And I think some kids do like overlook that at times now when you go to a school like that, is that like you should expect to be good. Like it's not like you expect by putting on the jersey that you're gonna be good, but no, it takes the work to know you're gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like all of us in our my early classes and stuff, like we knew we were going to Cal, we knew we were going to be good, but we put in the work to make sure we were going to stay good.
Right.
And I think there's a couple classes coming up through Cal now that have that same type mentality that I like. I know that there's going to be sophomore class this year. I coach about 8 or 9 of them, and they're gonna that's going to be like where we're talking about like they haven't got over that hump for a while now.
Yep.
That's that team that went to the World Series.
They went to the Junior League World
Yeah.
Series thing. So I coached them this summer a bunch, and like it's the one class I've seen in a while that I think has that it to where it's going to put Calallen back on
Right.
Like,
The deep runs.
Like the deep runs.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
they've gone to regional finals,
Yeah.
but that's not, like, whenever I was there, like, and I know, and you're not, Chapman and Lopez say the same thing, like, that's still not good enough. Like, getting to the regional
Yeah.
finals ain't good enough. Like, when we, it was either go to state or bust.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
so,
I
but I
mean,
just think,
that's what a winning program expects,
for sure.
right? So,
And I think it's just the expectation. Like, I think that's what sort of makes it, like, his expectation in you as a player and as a person. Like, if he doesn't, if he's not there holding you accountable and stuff, like, that's what coaching is about, holding guys accountable to do your job, like, on the field, do your job off the field, like, be a good human, like, be a good person, be a good teammate. And that's, I think, what sort of Chapman really instills in that program is, like, just doing your job. And like, and there's, and like you said, in practice, like, it don't matter. Like, no matter, it's practice.
right.
Like,
You better be
like,
under
you better
10.
be, you better get it right every time.
Right.
And that's sort of, like, I think why it looks good in the games, because it's like we're so focused on getting it right
perfect,
in the games or getting it right in practices that the games come easier because it's so hard at practice.
Right.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Do you think that now that you're coaching travel guys, do you think that some of what Chapman, his style of coaching, you think you've adopted that with those guys? Or,
no.
or has more influence been from, like, your, I guess, other coaches that you work with?
I think I get more influence with how my coaching style through pro ball. Like,
Okay.
and it's sort of hard because you have to balance, like so in pro ball there's no yelling, right? Like, there's no screaming. There's
Yeah.
no, like, you're a grown man. Like, they're not gonna sit there.
professional,
Like,
yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
like Sandra doesn't come over here and scream at everybody like every time they mess up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what she does. Like, so it's sort of like, more like I sort of have that, but at the same time, I'm trying to get better at getting a little more vocal because, like, I coach 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds. Like, I coach high school kids that need to be like, hey, let's go.
Right.
Like,
Get 'em ready.
Get them ready a little bit more, get a little bit more vocalized than, like, this last year being my first year fully doing it. I sort of treated a lot of them like it's a pro ball team where it's like, I'm not going to yell at you on the field. I'm still never really going to do that. But, like getting on to people a little bit more and not just sort of like, hey, it's okay. Like, this is what you need to do. Like, I still correct, but it's more not, just sort of, hey, but some kids, like I was one of those kids that sort of needed, like, hey, let's go.
Right.
Like, not very often, but you can ask my dad. Like, my dad, like, there were sometimes he'd scream at me and yell at me. And it would make me better. It'd make me so mad that, like, I was one of those guys when I played mad, like, it was going to a whole different level because I was so mad at my dad for yelling at me, and, like, then it was like, all right, I'm gonna show you.
Yeah.
So, but no, I would say, like, I would take more of my coaching styles coming from, like, the pro ball side of it, which I'm trying to, like, adjust to be, like, sort of an in between where I'm not like a screamer, but I'm not like I'm trying to find that in between. So it was definitely a good learning curve for me this year to be my first year doing this, like, full time for sure.
So when you got drafted out of high school, was that expected? I know you were committed to University of Texas.
Yes, sir.
And so then you got drafted by the Pirates. Was that kind of, you already knew that was going to come? And then how did you take it in stride? And once you got in the minor leagues, they say the minor leagues always a grind, like you said. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and before the minor league part, where were you on draft day?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And was it an easy decision to choose playing pro over going to Texas?
Okay. So one, yes, I was expecting it.
Okay.
Like, once I got into my senior year, like, going in, like, the fall of my senior year, that's when it sort of started, like, picking up that I was going to get drafted high, like, high enough to where it's like I'm gonna have to think about going to school, going to play pro ball.
Play pro ball.
Going into that summer, my junior year to senior summer, no, I was like, I'm going to college. Like, it wasn't even in my head. But then, that senior year, it was expected for the most part. Like, it was, I was honestly sort of pissed where I got drafted at, because, like, that's why, like, I try to tell these kids, like, don't look at rankings too much, because, like, most of the people that make those rankings ain't got a clue what's going on. Like, they're not the scouts that are evaluating you. They're not the GMs that are picking you. Like, I was the second ranked catcher in the whole draft behind Mike Zunino on Baseball America, and I would end up being the 8th catcher taken. Like, I'm thinking I'm going in the top 20 picks, and I'd end up being the 69th pick. Now, I'm not complaining I was the 69th pick, but like, that's why these kids they're all worried about PG rankings, this, that, and their player rankings. Yeah, it looks great. Don't get me wrong. It looked cool. It looked super dope. Like, I can say it's cool to say, like, I rep, like, the number 2 player in Texas plays for us with the Banditos. Like, it's cool to say that, but it don't mean nothing until, like, that your name gets called on draft day. So, but no, it was definitely expected. I actually was at my house the first night. I was at my house both days, but I was supposed to go. Like, I thought I was going the first night, which was the first round, and so it didn't get drafted. Right. The first night, not happy. Then did not sleep well. Did not go well. So get up the next day, still like I was just at my house. Got drafted, name came up. I actually thought I was going 2 picks later. The Reds had called my agent at pick 71 and said, "Hey, we're going to take Wyatt and we're going to put him at third base." Because I showcased as the catcher, like so I could be a catcher in pro ball, even though I played short in high school. So the Reds call, "We're going to put you at third base." I'm like, heck yeah, I don't have to catch. I'm getting drafted this high. Fantastic. So we're sitting there waiting for pick 71 to come. And all of a sudden they're like, pick 69, the Pittsburgh Pirates select catcher out of Corpus Christi, Texas. And like all within inside 2 seconds, I'm sitting there like, I'm the only catcher from Corpus Christi, Texas. This must be me.
Wow.
And then they call my name and I'm like I'm obviously happy. Like, later on, later in my career, I was like, man, if I could have just started at third base. I ended up getting to move to third base a year and a half later anyway. So it was like, maybe if I just started there, I wouldn't have hurt my shoulder. I wouldn't have done whatever. But no, I was at my house chilling. It was a pretty easy decision, honestly. Once you, like, sometimes how the draft process works is like you tell, like, your agent will tell the scouts and the GMs and all the people that are involved in making the decisions, like, hey, this is what he'll sign for. This is what pick he'll go till he goes to college. And so, like, they pretty much knew, like, I had, like, a limit on where I would go. Yeah. Like on how much money I would take. Right. And so once it got to that, if it would have got to that point, then I would have went to college. But it was before that point, so it was pretty much like there was no like thinking about it. It was like I can't back out now. Like I gave these guys my word. Like they draft me here, I'm gonna sign. Right. So it was pretty much hey, let's go, we're done. And then I was home for 2 more days, and it was all right off to rookie ball in Florida, and that was it. And it was. That was
so minor league. Take us a little bit through your minor league days. Of course, we always hear about it. Grind. You said, like you said, it's not really about winning; it's about developing and and then at that time, I think I was reading they finally gave him a raise and they're
doing a good job now. They're doing a good job now.
But so how rough was it? Even though you're playing the sport you love and you're in the major leagues, But tell us a little bit about that minor league system.
I think people use the word grind as it's honestly they don't talk about it enough.
Right.
They don't they
don't explain it enough.
No, they just think grind like you're playing baseball a lot. They don't get that you're getting paid $1,100 a month and you got to pay $700 worth of rent and then pay for food on top and your gas on top and you're tipping the clubbies that pay for to do your laundry and make you food and you're tipping. So
you don't have nothing.
No, I was blessed enough to get a pretty big signing bonus. So I was comfortable because the money that I was making a month really didn't matter as much.
Yeah. Right.
But the guys who, didn't get big signing bonuses, I honestly don't know how they lived.
You saw the struggle.
I honestly don't. I know a lot of them, and they do a lot better job now is with the guys who didn't get big signing bonuses, they didn't get to focus on the offseason as baseball as much. So my off seasons, I didn't work, I didn't do nothing. It was just baseball.
Right. You got to train.
I got to train and do baseball. There was I didn't have to have an off season job. I would just chill, do my baseball stuff, work out, do all that. Yeah. The guys that didn't get big signing bonuses, they're having to have jobs, real jobs to even get through the season the next year. Because you do the math, $1,200 times 6 is $7,500 for the whole year.
Wow.
To live off of for 6 months.
Yep.
And so the changes they made were happened way too late. That. It's just the fact that it even was that was even a reasonable thing where they could somehow do that legally was wild outside my wild to me. Because they basically
made a drastic change.
Yeah. Guys are making minimum $25,000 now, which is solid for. It's pretty good for 6 months. Especially playing a sport, but. When it's $8,000 a month, how they did it was they just paid you for your hours of game time play. This is my normal day going to the field for a 7:00 game, so I'd get to the field at 12:30.
Right.
Early work starts at 1:45. That's it. That's if I don't have to lift that day. If I have to lift, it's I got to get there at 12, lift at 12:30. Early work's at 1:30, 2:00. Then stretches at 3, BP from 3:30. Infield BP from 3:30 to 4:30. And then you're off till the game. So I'm there, and then the game, 7 to 10, shower 10:30. So I'm there from 12 to 10:30.
It's a 12
and
hours.
I got paid for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
That's how the whole system worked with that. And I think that's where people don't get that. I had people whenever I was playing thinking I was making my signing bonus every year. I'm I wish. Shoot, you think I'd have some mansion in San Antonio if I was making that right now every year for 10 years? Come on now. So I don't think people really they see it if they want to know and they want to read it, but they don't really know
they don't understand
what the real struggle is. And then you are playing 140 games in some podunk city in West Virginia. You know what I mean? Like it's like you're eating Waffle House every meal. You're eating like, but you're supposed to stay in shape and try to keep. And that was the biggest thing for me is that I'm not gonna blame it on the money because I love fast food. That's not like that's just me. But like I got hurt a lot early in my career. Okay. Like I didn't know how to lift. I didn't know how to do like I was not very good at taking care of my body all the way from like high school to pro ball. High school I just showed up.
Yeah.
I mean I lifted a little bit. Not very much. Like I just, God bless me, being naturally 6 foot 210 in high school, like without having to really work out. Didn't do a lot of arm care. Didn't like it. Just everything was sort of just like now the baseball side of it. Yeah, I worked part of it everybody, but like the physical side, it was sort of just given.
Yeah.
And so I get to pro ball where now I'm playing every single day, and you sort of have to treat your body a little bit better.
Right.
And my body sort of broke down those first 3 or 4 years. I had a lot of like injuries early in my career, they were a lot of preventative injuries that if I just would have took care of my body right, eating better and doing all that, and I didn't, but whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, the grind part is just, it's every day, 140 games. Like most of the time, the only thing open by the time you get done with your game is Waffle House. So you eat a lot of Waffle House, a lot of McDonald's. And this is early in my career. This is pre-Postmates, pre-DoorDash,
Right.
Yeah.
pre-Uber Eats. There ain't none of that.
Right.
There ain't no delivering food to your place.
Right.
You're walking, no Ubers. That wasn't a thing yet still. So like only way you were getting food late was like you were praying there was a Waffle House right next to your hotel.
Or order pizza.
Or order a pizza. That was your only two options, really. Maybe some Chinese food if you were in a city, but most of the cities we played in weren't going to have Chinese food places open that late.
Wow.
So that was like the grind of it. I think people like I think the financial part is the biggest thing. Like once you get to like that aspect, but especially when the minimum wage in the big leagues it's now $7.50.
Yep.
And the minimum the minor league wage was $8,000.
Right.
So freaking $700,000 difference between playing in the big leagues and playing in AAA. Because in AAA it was until you get to your free agent contract, you're still making $1,700 a month.
Wow.
When you're one step away from making 22 every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Wow.
Like that was the craziest part. I don't think people understand like how the money part. It's like I said, no, it's a lot better now than it used to be.
Right.
But how it really worked back then was how much big of a difference it was between being in the big leagues and being in just in AAA.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
it's a
you want it.
It's a
You're like,
humongous.
man, I need to
difference.
make it.
Yeah. So, but no, it was fun though. I mean, like I wouldn't take like because I had one of the like most guys, most second round picks don't take 8 years to get 9 years to get to the big leagues. It's not usually how long it takes.
Right. But your
injuries and just like, and I was just like, I wasn't there. Like I wasn't ready baseball wise. Like I wasn't, the injuries was a big part of it, but I'm not a guy that's going to blame injuries on me not getting there because it was my fault. And I just wasn't ready to get to that level yet. I wasn't ready like every year to move up and get to the big leagues, but I got to that point eventually. And like, I wouldn't really change my like ride for anything, like how long it took. Would I love to have been a guy who gets up there in 2 years and stays for 20? Who wouldn't?
Right.
But like my whole goal, when you're a kid, like your goal is you don't say as a kid, like I'm going to play 10 years in the big leagues. Like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You're like, I just want to play in the big leagues. Like I just want to play. I just want to get to the big leagues. And so I did that. And like, that was like, once I did that, like the grind, like sort of like left. And I was like, okay. Like, sort of like I know it took a long time, but I did it, guys. Like it's cool.
And most of a lot like the 2000s, 90s, that's the way it was for everybody. Not very rare like Ken Griffey and those guys made it, right there. But now it's kind of changed. There's guys that just got drafted moving up Double A or Triple A. Whoa, wait, what the so it's a whole different generation.
Yeah, it is.
Marcus, you guys?
Yeah. So, is it? I could have this incorrect, but I think the rule is it 7 years of minor league ball and then you can become a free agent?
Yes, that's so if you play, it's like seven full seasons or what it is. So you have your little half season that they don't count that. So like your 7 full seasons of minor league baseball without like getting put on the 40-man roster to the big leagues, all that stuff, then you become a minor league free agent, essentially being a free agent like you are in the big leagues. But like there's caps on your. Like they can't pay you $1 million.
Yeah.
If they in the minor league contract side of it, but your pay obviously substantially goes up if you've like done well in the minor leagues up till that minor league free agent contract. So it's usually a 1-year contract for whatever you decide to make per month. Basically, is what they do. They basically do it per month. So yeah, I played my first 7 years since like tested free agency. It went a lot better than I thought it was going to. Honestly, like a lot of people valued how I played more than like honestly I thought I was good. Like I thought I had a pretty good year in AAA the year before, but like the Diamondbacks definitely like valued me more than I thought. Like then I was like heck yeah, like this is sick. Like making this much money, this is a lot better. And I don't know if that was the reason. One of the reasons I went off that year, like that was my best year of my career, or with just having like a little bit more of like Like, all right, I don't have to worry about, like, I'm not stressing about, like, I'm not, me and my wife aren't sitting in the projects of Indy. Like, that's where we lived in Indianapolis. It was like, we were in like a pretty bad area. Like, 'cause it was all we could really afford at the time. We were newlyweds. Like, my signing bonus, it's been 5-6 years. That thing's gone already. You know what I mean? Like, so, ain't a lot of investing $700,000. So it sort of runs out eventually. So we're living in the hood of Indianapolis. And, like, it was nice the next year, like, showing up and I'm making X amount of money and I'm not sitting there stressing about it anymore. Like, I don't know if that sort of took a burden off, like, not having to worry about stuff. But yeah, that's how the 7-year process works. Now, a lot of guys get to minor league free agency, honestly. It's not like, usually you either get to the big leagues a little faster than that or you're out the door a little faster than that. It was, but it was good. I'm glad I got there because I got a chance to be with the Diamondbacks and really enjoyed it there with that organization.
So once you got to the Diamondbacks, so they called you up. I remember, it was not too long. You hit a home run, right?
Yeah, it was about 4 games. I 4 or 5 games. I struggled for a while early.
2 homer games.
Yeah. I struggled. My first 10 at-bats weren't very good.
Right.
They, like I faced Kevin Gossman, second to Cy Young that year. Then,
still good right now.
Yeah, still unbelievable. And then I, had to pinch it against the Dodgers, back into their bullpen, 2 lefties and Kenley Jensen. Yep. And then the next day I got blessed with a start against Clayton Kershaw. So it was, my first 10 at-bats weren't against, guys that you're MLB. Like, hey, what's up? Welcome. You've been, and especially because that was the year. And what's sort of like, there was a couple guys in that year that we got called up that year. Like, we had big years in 2019. COVID happens. We get sent to like the summer camp 2.0, development thing. And it's like, it's not AAA. Like, we had there were probably 8 pitchers there total. Like 3 were AAA dudes that were like, could have gone up and down that year. And the other 5 were low A ball. Like, they were like their top prospects. I mean, they're all in the big leagues now with the Diamondbacks. Like, every single one of them's in the big leagues now with the Diamondbacks. But in 2020, they just got drafted. So I'm going from facing guys who don't know where the ball's going at this point. Like, throw hard, but not really pitching.
Right.
And that's who I'm facing on a daily basis at our little, alternate development site to facing Kershaw. Wow. It's sort of not and I'm never using it as an excuse, but it's sort of like you go from like 2019 where like I feel like I'm the best hitter on the planet, like at 23 homers in 2 months. Like, I feel like I'm the best hitter in the world. And I'm like, call me up now because I'm gonna hit anybody you put out there. So like 2020, like I was like, I'm hitting good at this thing, but it's like I'm not sitting there thinking like I'm not having the same confidence level as I had the year before. Over like.
And then when you see these pictures, like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a little bit different. Like, these guys know exactly where it's going. And but yeah, so I started a little bit early, and then we made some swing adjustments. I made a big mental adjustment, like just sort of stopped playing, like not scared, but sort of timid, like trying to be perfect. I was always trying to be perfect, like because I was like, it took me this long to get here. I got to be perfect.
Oh yeah.
And I was always a guy who didn't really swing at a lot of balls. Like, I walked a lot, like didn't chase a lot. And so I tried to like think I have to do that or I'm going to get sent back down. Right. So it actually made me worse. Like, I chased more and didn't walk as much because I was so had such a bad mindset. And so we made a little swing change, made a little mindset change. And then next game, 2 homers. And it was like, all right, that sort of worked. Yeah. Next game, 2 more hits. And I'm like, okay, this feels pretty good. And then all of a sudden, boom, season's over. And it's like, all right, well, that was cool for 4 games.
Yeah.
So, but no, it was that 20 year was wild.
I mean, you could have, wasn't for that, you would have probably,
Yeah. And it's just like going into 20, like when we were going to 20, like spring training, like we were in big league spring training, like me and this other dude that got called up the same year. We sort of have very similar stories. He got there a little faster than I did, but very similar stories, right? And we both got called up in 20, and we're both out of baseball by now already. Both played in the big leagues in 20, played in the big leagues in 21 together. All this stuff, and we're both out of baseball already. And we talk about it all the time. We're like, bro, if we would have had that 2020 year, like where it would have started, and we could have went to, we would have went to AAA to start, done well, got to the big league, got a chance to play a lot more, and played and really showed them how we could play over, COVID year, 60 games. We're only there for 30 of them, and then go to 21. And it was like we both had okay years, but it wasn't what we were in 2019, and so we still job. We'll still talk about it. Like we both know exactly where we were when the whole COVID thing happened. We were sitting there in the cage, like we had just got sent down to minor league camp because they had to send us down because of the roster stuff they had to do. And we're sitting there, and they're like, we'd seen the whole Rudy Gobert thing, touching the microphone and all rubbing it on his face, and we'd all seen that. We're all thinking it's a joke, right? We're sort of thinking COVID's a joke.
I think everybody
sort of thought that. So they say, hey, we're canceling the rest of the day because of the COVID stuff. Like Major League Baseball is postponed and stuff. And we're like, I mean, what are we gonna be gone 3 days? Like, you know, I mean, it's a virus. Like, it was like a stomach flu. Like, who cares?
Right,
So
right.
we then it turned into like a week, and we were like, what the heck's going on? Like, and then it turned into like, hey, we're not gonna start until minimum May, and we're like, well, I guess we're going home. Like, so I came back to Corpus. He went back to North Dakota, but we always talk about like how like if we just could have had that COVID year sort of just threw everything out of whack.
Yeah, man, for
And
sure.
then obviously the whole like me making my debut with nobody there.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah,
I didn't get to have my parents there, the rest of my family there.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
my kid there.
Yeah.
Like my kid was a month old.
I still
like,
laugh on those damn paper
Yeah,
facts.
yeah.
I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
And it
I
was
was like, wow.
So that was I think the thing that sucked the most honestly
yeah.
about the COVID was like I didn't get to share that experience
Right.
with anybody.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, you see it on TV, all these people getting to have like, oh, there's their parents in the stands. Like there's, mom, there's dad, there's wife, there's kid, like, all this stuff. Yeah. There's longtime summer coach. There's, high school coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get to have that. And that's the worst, I think the worst. And even during the COVID, like the 21 year, the next year I was in the big leagues, they still had like, we could have people there, but we couldn't like have people near us on the field. Like we couldn't have on-field pictures. We couldn't have like this, that. So I think that's the biggest like thing that sort of sucked about 20 and 21. That's the years being playing in the big leagues is like not being able to really share that experience with the people who helped get me there.
Right.
So
who are the, like, I mean, I know you Kershaw, you mentioned. So on the Diamondbacks, who'd you play with, that year?
Cattell Marte was still there.
Oh, yeah.
David Peralta was there. He's with the Dodgers now. Eduardo Escobar was there. He's with the Mets now. Nick Ahmed was the shortstop. Christian Walker's still with the Diamondbacks. Carson Kelly was one of the catchers. Mad Bum was there. That was his first year there. Merrill Kelly was still there.
And you faced the Dodgers.
Faced like it's the teams
when you played against them, were you like, man, wow?
No, I mean,
not really.
sort of, not really, because it was like I played against. So we
A bunch
like
of the
you
guys
see him in
minor
spring
league-
training. I mean, like
oh.
you see him in spring training, so it's not like it's like when you play against them in big league camp, especially when you have success against them in a game in big league camp, or like so before that 2020 COVID year, like we went and played an exhibition game at Dodger Stadium, and I got 2 hits. So it was like those guys sort of knew who I were. So it's sort of like. You're not as like, oh my gosh,
in awe.
like you're not in awe of them, and like you, especially playing first base. When I would play first base, is like you see those guys when they get on base.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like I'm talking to them every time they get on base.
Yeah.
Like, what's up? How's it going, Mookie? Like, whatever it is.
Cool,
like, you're
man.
talking to guys.
Cool.
But the only ones I was honestly sort of, and I didn't play those games. I actually just didn't play all 3 games. I just sat there and got to watch on it. Like I had the best seat in the house, obviously, and got paid to do it. So it was actually not the worst thing to sit in the big leagues. Like as much as I want to play, like I got to watch. We played the Angels that year, and I didn't play one game, and I saw like Ohtani come up and Trout come up. And like they get to like I'm sitting like on the first base dugout, like on the very end, I see them get to first base, and you're like, oh my gosh! Like you see Albert Pujols, and it's like Albert Pujols was with my agency, was with my agency, and so you see Albert Pujols, and it's like, bro, that's the guy that like got this whole thing going, and like you see Ohtani, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's that big. Like Trout, the same thing. Trout's big, but you don't know he's 6'3" until you get you get on the field, and you're like, oh my gosh, that dude's 6'3" too. Like you're like he's making our first baseman, who's like he's about my size, maybe a little bit thicker than me, 6 foot, 220. He's making him look like a dwarf, and you're like, you don't see that you don't really see that on TV. You don't see the guy. Obviously, the dudes that are super tall, you can tell. But like even like I was at the Astros game the other day for BP. We had like the original Bandito as the first base, the original like OG Houston Bandito. The kid that started it is the first base coach for the Padres.
Oh wow!
So he helped us out to get BP. He got some BP tickets. Me and Ray were out there with Chris Bernal and a couple of their wives. And like Tatis comes out, and you're like, bro, this guy is massive. Like, that's what I saw. Like when I first played against him with the Padres, I was like, dude, you don't notice that like Fernando Tatis is every bit of 6'3", and Machado's every bit of 6'4". Like you don't see that the tallness is what like sort of throws you for a loop when you first see these guys.
And that's what I hear too when like they go to these showcases and they look for that. The height.
For sure.
Yeah, that's the first thing they look at.
It always helps to pass the eye test in showcases camps. Like if I see a kid and it's like, oh my gosh, he looks the part.
Yeah.
The worst part though is seeing a kid that looks the part and can't play. There's nothing more let down as a coach or as like, a guy who pushes guys to college. Like, like you say, well, I got this dude who's 6'4", 220. Like, oh my gosh.
He throws 95.
And then you look at him and then he plays and you're like, great. But no, it was a good little run in the couple. Couple years in the big leagues.
South Texas Coastal Bend. We got Jose Trevino. We got Nick Lofton's up there doing well. We got Kale Himshoff went to AAA.
Last week, right?
Raya will just hear
Right, yeah.
from Laredo.
Yep. Mhm.
I mean, they say he's got some nasty stuff. There's a bunch of guys that are still grind. Serrano,
Yeah.
Florencio. So, man, it's good to see that, and and it's like I tell all these guys too. Hey, man, these guys can do it. Y'all can do it. And nowadays, like it's like Altuve too. He sets the bar. Like you say,
Yeah.
everybody's tall, but
It don't matter.
man, he did it.
You can play.
So
If you, play guys like. If you can play, you can play.
Oh, yeah.
It don't matter how it don't really matter how big you are, how small you are. Now, guys that are bigger get more chances for sure. Like that's just life.
Right.
But they don't care really how small or I might get you in the door being that big, but it ain't gonna keep you there.
Right.
Like it's not.
So do you regret not playing college?
If I was in college now, yeah, with all the NIL money and stuff you can make.
yeah.
I mean, that was
Everybody does say that.
like
though.
you asked
Right.
you asked earlier was it a hard decision? It's not when I'm having to
time,
pay
no,
$10,000 to go to school. Or I'm getting
Yeah.
paid money to go play baseball. No, it wasn't even a decision.
Right.
Now with the NIL being able to float it a little bit closer to a full ride or getting above a full ride and getting to make money, yeah, it would have been a way harder decision.
Exactly.
It's a different animal as it is now compared to when I was there. When I was there, no one everybody if you had a full ride, you weren't getting a full ride. You were lying.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
straight up lying.
Yeah.
Like plain and simple. If I hear I say, oh, I'm getting a full ride to whatever big school, and I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Bro, they ain't spending one full scholarship when you have 11 to give to
Yeah.
30 players. They're not giving you one.
Yep.
Now, you might get a scholarship with school or some grants
that
or whatever
covers-
to cover it to
An
get to a full
academic
to get it to full.
I think that's been the biggest. A lot of people did think, hey, well, full ride, yeah, but they didn't understand the process of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit. I regret it. I wish school was like this.
Right.
Maybe I would have went to Texas, depending on how much how much NIL money they were going to give me or not.
Yeah.
But
No. So now Wyatt, you're in the travel ball, like you said. You're coaching with Banditos. A pretty respected program,
Very,
travel ball.
very respected.
A lot of guys there too been
Yeah.
drafted and went to play at major colleges. And, a lot of these guys from South Texas too. Played with some of those teams. So tell us a little bit about that. I know you coach a team, like you said, you've been Florida and stuff. I saw a couple. One of the kid named Florida is throwing 95.
Yeah, so
94
yeah.
and tell us a little bit about that experience and how it's going, and is that something that you're just gonna do from now on, something that you just willing to do?
No, I mean I sort of much knew this was what I wanted to do. Last I guess it would be the fall of 2021. When I would in the off season when I got done playing that year, I did it. For some reason that off season it sort of clicked a little bit more because I had sort of done the coaching all through the off seasons the couple years before that, but that year it sort of clicked more that this is sort of what I want to do. This is I enjoy getting the opportunity to help kids and change their lives. And so I tell everybody the thing I'm trying to do the most of is I had every field you could have in baseball.
Right.
From varsity as a freshman, going to state, getting drafted, or signing a letter of intent, committing, doing all that, getting drafted, going through that, playing in the big leagues. Every high you could have as a baseball player, I had.
Right.
And I know what it feels like. And I know how great it feels to have all those things. So
Right.
now it's my biggest thing I want to do is see how many highs I can give these kids through
Right.
baseball.
Yeah.
Right.
How many can experience the stuff that I got to experience.
Right.
Whether it's just playing varsity baseball early or signing to any college to get to take stuff, but just those highs that that I gotta have. I'm trying to give that back.
Right.
That's my number one goal is to give as many of those things as I can to these kids and
Right.
these parents.
Right.
So, but no, I'm doing this. I don't plan on stopping.
Right.
I wouldn't have. Me and Chris Manal wouldn't have joined the Banditos if I wasn't in this for a long run.
Right.
It's
Right.
we're, Banditos are one of the OGs. They've been Ray's been doing this for 30 years. And it's that. If that doesn't say something,
Right.
you can do the same thing for 30 years and have the success, the national championships, the Major League Baseball players, the Division I signee, just any college signees. If that doesn't sell you, I don't know what does, honestly. If I'm because I played for Ray, I played for Banditos when I was a kid, so
Right.
it was and that was before, that was when it was sort of still in the early stages, and that was 16 years ago.
Right.
Now with the success we've had as an organization, the guys we're putting into college every year, the guys that were getting in the minor leagues, getting to pro ball, whatever it is, just getting better as baseball players and all that. If that doesn't really sell you, I don't know what will.
Right.
Like, because it's like some of these other other organizations, they give, there's a lot of false promises, honestly to me a lot of false hopes. Like trying to say that you're gonna be this guy. It's like, bro, there's only certain dudes who play like certain guys do.
Yeah.
Like there's like, yeah, you want to have the aspirations to do that, for sure. Right. But there's about one player gets drafted out of high school out of Corpus every 10 years.
Yeah.
Like big,
right.
like high.
Right.
It's every 10 years.
And maybe, I mean, I was telling Marcus too, well, I've mentioned it a few times. I was trying to make a list of all the college players, and man, I lost count.
Yeah.
I was already like 120, 130. Yeah. So, I mean, it just shows you, this region's deep,
100%. So it's just about, for us, it's about.
And I mean, even Valley and Laredo too.
We count them in South Texas.
Yeah, so
we just want to develop them and get them to I tell a lot of parents, I'm like, if you invest in us, invest in me, invest in our organization, now, we'll save you money in the future.
Oh yeah.
That's what you if we're that's my slogan is you trust me now and invest now. When your kid's time to go to college, guess what? You ain't gonna pay as much college. You ain't gonna be like a normal kid paying $20,000, $25,000 to go to school.
Yep.
The little investment you can make now might be the difference between you paying $30,000 a year to go to school and for some kids at some schools not paying a dime.
Yep.
So that's the whole thing for us is just developing these youth programs to get to where we get to high school. There's no I want a lot of my youth program kids to be smarter than their high school coaches, when they get there. Not saying about high school coaches, but I want them to when the high school coach says something, they already know. They already know that.
Right.
And then so when they do get to the high school program, now it's time to go and get in front of these scouts and get your school paid for.
Right.
'Cause that's what it's all about. If you really are in this thing for the right reasons, you're trying to get to school and get to school and go play college baseball. Because then you get to have fun and go to school instead of just go to school.
Right.
So.
Question back to when you made the Diamondbacks and you actually debuted.
Okay.
Were you in AAA?
I was at the alternate site where it was there was basically all the guys that were on the 40-man roster that were not in the big leagues. So there was probably 14 of us there.
Okay.
And then there was probably another 10-ish, probably 10 to 15-ish more prospects they had there. Where it was they're high end guy. Well, just guy I can tell you guys that were in the big leagues now. Alec Thomas was there. Corbin Carroll was there.
Yeah.
Geraldo Perdomo was there. Basically, all those young dudes you see in the big leagues, the Diamondbacks right now, they were all at that alt side with us older dudes that were there for AAA, basically. And so that's who we sort of had inter-squad games against, whereas the top prospects and the older dudes. And that's so it was a bunch of 19-year-olds, bunch against 26, 27-year-olds.
Yeah,
and that's sort of we had little games once a day at the spring training complex in Arizona. And those were all our minor leagues for that year. We're just playing against some young bucks who ended up being really, really good. So
yeah. So where were you? You were at the site. Do you remember what you were doing when you got the news?
That year they had a thing called a taxi squad, right? So about 3 players from that alternate site would go on the road with the team.
Okay.
Just in case someone caught COVID, you're in the big leagues,
Makes
right?
sense.
Oh yeah.
So I was on that trip already. I was in San Francisco with them already. Because the other thing was too is you couldn't get called up from your alternate site if you were on the road. They couldn't fly you from Arizona to San Francisco. You had to get called up from that site. That's not why I got called up. So I wouldn't I got called up because I got called up.
Yeah.
But so I was in San Francisco already. They played one game. I watched in the stair. I don't even think I stayed. I think I went back to the hotel after BP. And I'm sitting in my room. I'm actually playing Call of Duty, just chilling Call of Duty. And I see a number. I don't usually answer random numbers. So if you call me, parents, please send a text, because I don't answer random numbers. It's just sort of what it is. So if you do have a question about, all our Banditos stuff, please text me afterwards, because I'm not going to call you back. Because I don't answer random numbers. So I get a random number from Cali, right? It's an LA number. And I'm okay, that doesn't look like spam. That looks like it's probably either a teammate or someone's number I don't have. So I answer, and it's my manager. He's hey, I need you to come down to they just got back from the game to the hotel, and they were we need you to come down to the food area where they had for us set up. So I go downstairs. I tell my buddy, I'm hey, hold on. I got to go downstairs. Just play a game without me. We're playing Warzone. I'm time, put it back. Walk downstairs. And I sort of I'm either getting released or I'm either getting taken off the roster or I'm going to the big league. So I'm I don't think I'm getting taken off the roster. I've been doing pretty good at this alternate site thing. So I go down there and he's hey, so we know we know your story and how long it's it's been this blah 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 blah. and he was like, "You're getting called up tomorrow," and I'm like, "Cool." It was like, I don't know if I was trying. I don't think I was trying to be like, Mr. Cool Guy, but it's sort of just. I think I was so expecting it since like the year before that it was like almost like
relief.
It's about time. I feel like I've been doing this. I've been doing good for the last year and a half. Like it's about time this happens. Right. So I'm like, cool. All right, thanks. Cool. Appreciate you. Call my parents. Like obviously they can't even come, so it sort of sucked. But I called my parents. Called my wife. So get back on the video games. I'm like, I was like, talk to each parent for like 30 seconds. Like, hey, get called up, get activated tomorrow. Like, I'm gonna start the next day. Same thing. Bye. Love you. See ya. Get back on video games, playing. And my buddy's like, what happened? I told him that was my manager that called that I had to go downstairs. He's like, hey, what'd your manager say? And I said, I'm just going to the big leagues tomorrow. And like, we're just sitting there, and he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I got called up. And I'm like, all right, well, where are we landing at now? Or like the game had just started. Like, you ready up? And they're like, so it wasn't. But I was at the hotel already when it happened.
Yeah.
But so I was just there, and then played in San Francisco for a couple games, and flew home and back to AZ for a series.
How amazed were you at the difference between the big league travel lifestyle?
Oh my gosh, you never want to go back. Like when you go back to even the minor leagues aren't bad. Like AAA, honestly, like isn't the worst. Like AAA, you still get to fly a bunch. Like you're flying almost everywhere. If you're in so they have the two different leagues, like the Pacific Coast League, the one that's on the West Coast, like you fly everywhere because nowhere's close.
Yeah.
The East Coast League, you sort of bus some because some of the places are a little bit closer. Like you still bus at times. But in the West Coast League, when I got out there with the Diamondbacks, we flew everywhere. Like we drove. The only place we drove was to Sacramento, and that was it.
Yeah.
And the rest we flew. But when you got to the big leagues and like you're on your own plane, you walk into a 5-star, 4 seasons, like you're in the best Marriott you could find. Like it's you're in Beverly Hills, like in a 4 Seasons hotel, and you're like, whoa. Like you walk in, your name's on the TV. Like they got stuff, waters out for you already. Like you don't even bring your suitcase up; they bring that thing up for you, and you're like, "Wow, this is how I know I made it." Like playing and stuff is cool, but like the way that they you get pampered in the big leagues is like that's the difference. Like we're staying at these hotels. Like we have an off day. Like the next year when we actually go do stuff on off days, like we have an off day. We're going to play like Trump Doral, which is one of the nicest courses in Florida, and because one of the dudes had a hookup, and it's like, all right, we're playing at one of the nicest courses in Florida on an off day, and then we're going back to some nice restaurant afterwards, and the old dudes are paying. Old dudes, I'm gonna say, they might get mad at me. The veterans are helping pay for it, and it's like you're especially the young pup. They helped you out a decent amount, and like you're sitting there like, this is it. Like this is like you sort of knew you made it once you got to like. And I sort of got that little bit of taste. I talked about the exhibition game before, so we went to LA for that exhibition game. So I wasn't in the big leagues yet, but I was on that trip, and they sort of treated you like you were in the big leagues already. And so like I sort of got that sort of little taste of it, and I went back to Arizona like in the alternate side, and I wasn't I wasn't like around the big leagues. I was like, bro, I got to get back there. That was that food's nice.
So how many fields did you visit?
I actually for not being up there very long, I actually got to visit a lot because the month of April in 2021, I think we played 4 games at home out of like 30 days. I think we played 26 games. We played 4 at home.
Wow.
So I was on. We played 22 on the road that fall or that April. So it was sort of. Like obviously I didn't know at the time, but it was probably the best because like I got to play at a bunch of different places. Even though I didn't play in the big leagues very long, I still played in 10 parks.
Oh wow!
Because it was, we played just in that 1 month. We played in Cincinnati, Washington, Miami, New York, Colorado, and San Diego.
Wow,
man!
So I played at 6 places in a month, like 35 days.
Yeah.
And then the year before I played in LA. And then where else did we I wasn't on the roster in Texas. I was actually there in Texas, but I wasn't on the roster yet. Both LA's. I don't even know where else we played in 2020. Oh, Houston. I played in Houston. I always forget about that one because I only played 1 game there, but it was cool. But it wasn't obviously no one there. It sort of sucked.
Yeah.
That'd have been like, everybody has all these homecomings to play, in like Texas when they're from here or wherever, and that would have been the sickest one. I could play in Houston, place like I was in AAA my first time playing in Texas for the first time in 10 years, and I had 70 people there in AAA in San Antonio.
Wow.
And in Round Rock, San Antonio Round Rock.
Yeah.
Like I was, if in the big league, it would have been way cooler. But yeah, I probably played in about 11, 12 places for not playing there very long. Probably almost half.
It's not bad.
That 1 month was awesome. Like it was, like I joke with my wife a lot about it a lot. Cause like when we have off days at home, like, you know, gotta hang out with her, gotta hang out with the, hang out with the daughter, you know, might go play a little bit of golf, but like, you know, it ain't like, you know, a boys' day.
Yeah.
So like when we were on the road, we'd fly out the night after a home game. Get there at midnight, 1 o'clock, you know, drink a little, have some fun, play some cards on the plane. So you get to your bougie hotel, sleep for a little bit, get up and go play some sick course, go eat. When we were in Cincinnati, we played 2 rounds at the same course. So we had no wives there telling us what to do. Like none of our, no significant others.
Nah.
So those days,
you're playing and having vacation, doing what you want.
So it was, I always joke with her because I think we had 4 off days that month, and 3 were on the road. Wow. So it was like we were just living the boys' life out there, just golf and food and.
So I mean, saying that too. So what, you know, off of baseball. So what do you like to do in your, you know, if you're not coaching and now that, you know, you have spare time, hunting, fishing.
I don't like if you want. I don't do anything. I play video games. I hang out with my daughter, and I coach baseball. That's all I do. Wow.
Yeah.
I watch sports. Like,
right.
you know, I watch college football, NFL. Like I watch that.
Yeah.
Like for sure. But like, I did the same thing I did when I played. Like it was like I love playing video games because I think it just sort of is like a stress. Like I don't think like this thing usually gets put like this, and I end up turning it and it looks like this where I have 30 texts. But it's where I can shut it off for a while, and like that's sort of how I did it as a baseball player.
I mean, it's like a hobby, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
some people hunting and fishing that does
It's
the
like
same
stress
thing.
relief. It's like, you know, so like that's how I used it for baseball. Was like it was sort of stress relief for me. It was like it was able to like, because if you think too much early, like first years of my career, I thought too much about the game. Like I'm like freaking out that I went 0 for like 3 games in a row, and it's like, bro, you're 0 for 9 in a 140 game season. Who cares? You have 500 at bats. So I'm sitting there thinking. I finally really started getting into like video games was the thing that sort of helped me like get away from the game.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with this because it's like there's still certain things I hate to deal with in this business of it. And it's like, it's the video games is what gets me away from it. And so I really don't do much, honestly. Like I play video games, I hang out with my family.
Yeah. I mean, we got Blake Mitchell there now too, talking about the MLB. Michael Cantu still.
He's still playing El Paso, AAA, yeah.
So, I mean, man, it's it would be cool, man. We could get a list of all them. Well, I mean, usually it comes out in caller times too.
They do a good job.
I have the caller time list on here.
They do a good job.
Because I would like to get them on the podcast.
Yeah.
If you guys are
And
listening.
I know Chris said that he would come on the show, Chris Burnell. So he said anytime too he would come on. Chris,
Does he live here in Houston?
He lives in the Valley.
Right?
Yeah,
okay.
He lives in McAllen,
Yeah, anytime he's in
And
town.
then his son said too, little Chris, he's at Texas State with
Yep.
Dalen. We talked to Egg. So, yeah, man, it just, I don't know if people realize how much South Texas Coastal been, you know, it's been successful
For sure.
you know, in baseball. So and you're just trying to carry it on, you know. And
100%.
So you're moving to Houston now, or
Yeah, that's sort of been like the
easy
plan.
for you?
The boss is sort of wanting me up there a little bit more to take some stuff off his plate.
Yeah.
And it's just.
oh man,
that's
that
pretty
complex
much why.
pretty nice over there. That
Yeah,
Premier,
yeah.
you can watch a game in the air conditioned, dude.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
You've been
Well, I don't know if it's the same as it was in like 2015.
Yeah, it's the
but
same.
Yeah, it's the
I-
same one.
I played at the one in 20.
They have
back
some
in
fields in the
2015,
back now too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they
We had
expanded a little bit.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Well, Banditos just
We have a facility going in there now too.
but they weren't there before.
No.
Yeah,
He was
no.
out. He was like a couple miles down the road in Tomball, but now we have a new facility inside the Premier location.
Yeah, man. Well, shoot. Thanks for coming on today.
For
And
sure.
I mean, this is great stuff. And you know, they get to hear the kids, the players now. You know, they get to hear firsthand how it is. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, you know, they gotta do it on their own, not just trainings. And like you say, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the work, and it's not a lie. You know? It's not a
You
lie.
gotta- I think the biggest thing, like if there are people like, you know, kids watching, is that like you have like the thing I see different from whenever I was a kid to when now
Right.
is the kids being athletes. Like instead of just practicing twice a week, like whether you're doing like individual stuff or not, because I'm not gonna sit here and try to sell myself to be like
Right,
I'm not that guy. I'll do it if you want me to. I'm not gonna sell like that. But even whenever I wasn't hitting, I wasn't playing baseball, like I was outside.
Yeah.
Like me and Rob played games all day long. Like summer, like it don't matter if it's 100 degrees. We didn't care.
Right.
Like we'd be out at 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 p.m. at night in the summer playing wiffle ball baseball in our driveway and like have leagues and stats.
Yeah.
And like it's every day.
Yep.
We're not playing baseball today, basketball. Not playing basketball today, football. Not playing football, we're playing rollerblade hockey. Like that's that. The being the athlete part is honestly what's missing in youth baseball today. Is that kids, like parents, kids think that it's just, all right, we go to practice twice a week and that's it. I guarantee you get Blake Mitchell sitting right next to me. I guarantee you he's not going to say that.
Oh, no.
Any of the guys that played, like higher level baseball, AAA baseball are from this area right now. I guarantee you they're not going to tell you, yeah, we practice twice a week and then we play video games the rest of the time.
Yeah.
I play a lot of video games. Kids that are, if you're gonna watch this, yeah, I earned that video game time, guys.
I did it later.
Like, I put in the work as a kid to like earn my video game time now. So it's just like that's the biggest thing I try to get these kids to understand on my youth teams is that like guys, like just because we only have practice twice a week, like that's not enough.
Yeah.
And it's not just the kids; it's the high school kids too. Like so, high school kids that are listening don't like think this isn't about y'all because y'all do the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like where it's like you practice twice a week, you do your practice, like especially in the fall,
That's what I
and
told
that's it.
I mean, I have a younger son, a senior. Tell him the same thing. I mean, just because whatever you did at school doesn't mean
It's not enough.
you still got to do it. I
not
mean,
enough.
How do you expect to be ahead of everybody else that is doing that?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, and that's the truth. That's what it comes down to. And
Some people don't like
you're
the
right,
truth,
man.
but that's
You're
what
right.
it is. It
You're
is
right.
what it is. And it's just
Yeah.
like you got to be willing to put in types of work. Like people think that like being Blake Mitchell or being me or being all these other guys that went to Division One and
It was
in
easy.
the pro ball that it was easy.
Yeah.
It's like this is hard, guys.
It's like you said, man. You have the talent.
Yeah,
I got
for
the
sure.
Talent, but how about that extra stuff?
Yeah, because not everybody
Not built for it.
No, and everybody think a lot of people think that everybody goes to college to play baseball.
Yeah. Nope.
No, don't. It's not that
and
easy.
Some of the players go to college and it's not for them.
No,
It's not for everybody.
And so it's like that's more for like the youth, like youth is just like not everybody like people that go to school earn going to school. You don't just get to go because you want to go to school to play baseball. It's not like you got to earn like doing that. Like you, and it's just more like don't wait till it's too late to be like, oh man, I wish I would have done this with my kid when he was this age to get him this better and this and that. Like don't wait because I've seen it. I've seen it like in these last like 2 or 3 years that I've sort of done it part-time and then doing it full-time this year. As you see parents be like, man, I wish I would have done this when my kid was 13 years old, 12 years old. So it's I think we're doing a good thing. We got a lot of good coaches with Banditos and we're trying to like really build like just because I'm moving don't mean I'm not like I'm still going to be in charge and involved of the stuff down here. So it's because like you said, we know how much talent's down here.
Yeah.
It's just getting it out. It's like getting it out of these kids and getting it back out of here again, and sort of
and make it pay
doing
off,
it.
like you said. Make
exactly.
it pay off.
Yeah, and on that same page, competing against other organizations like 12 who are down here, Sliders who pull from down here.
Yeah.
So
The Canes, all these, man, there's so many teams.
There's so many.
They've been around forever.
Yeah, for sure. There's always competition when it comes to getting players, but if you put the right product out and people really pay attention, it's not really another choice, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But
And I freaked out just real quick talking with my older son and we all played travel ball too. When I first went to Georgia with my older son, I was like, man, how many pools are there? Dude, the pools go from A to Z, double A, double B. There's like 500 teams from all over the United States. When I first hit me that way, I was like, wow, well, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, travel ball game's crazy now.
Yeah, and then there's some people, hey, well, travel ball, this and that, but you got to play against the best, man.
For sure, that's what we try to do. We're not big on like playing each other and like doing that. Like it's like I don't want to play each other because that's we're not competing. I want to compete against the best. Like we could have a sick team and like we get inter squad, cool, but that any real player knows that like when you inter squad and scrimmage each other, those competitive juices aren't flowing.
Yeah.
Until you see someone with their jersey across the field, like that's when you see who's a baller and who's not.
Right.
And so that's what our biggest thing, especially for the South Texas kids, getting like it's easy in Houston because all the tournaments are in Houston.
Right.
But like with South Texas, like that's why we push these kids so hard to go to these big tournaments. Like we have a big one this weekend in Houston. We have big ones in Florida. We have big ones like and like pretty much in Houston and then out of state during the summer. Right. And it's like if you're not playing against the best, because a lot of times those scouts ain't coming down here. Like this is just true syrup for parents right now.
That is true. That is
like
true.
scouts, we're trying our hard. I mean, y'all seen some of the showcases we put on now. Like we're trying our hardest to get these guys to come down here to see these kids in South Texas.
Right.
But when they don't come, we got to take them to them.
Yeah.
Like, we have to take our players to get in front of these people.
Right.
Because a lot of times, some of these schools, they don't know what's down here. They don't know the talent that's down here. They don't get it.
Right.
They just want to stay in Houston and stay in
Yeah,
Dallas and stay in the big cities.
more of the
big markets.
Yep.
And so we have to take our kids to where they're going to go.
Yeah, for
And like that's how it works a lot of the time. That's how a couple of our guys got signed this last year. Was like we went to Houston, they're like, "Oh my gosh, who is this guy?"
Right.
And we're like, "I've been telling you about him for 3 months." And but they had to see it to believe it. Now but it's building those relationships, and now we're starting to build them, and that's why you're starting to see these showcases that we're putting on that nobody else is doing.
Right.
Like nobody else is bringing Texas down here. No one else is bringing U of H down here. Like no one else is bringing A&M down here next fall, next spring. Like it's just because everybody it's just the relationships that we have with these organizations, and Ray's been doing it for 30 years. Like, Ray's got a little bit of relationships.
Yeah.
When he calls the LSU coach and the dude answers on one phone, one ring, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like Ray's pretty important in this whole college thing, and like that's
Yeah.
the whole reason we really did the Banditos thing was like because Ray's been doing it for 30 years. Like I mean, I've seen him call multiple coaches, and then like it ain't no voicemail. Like that thing's getting answered like in 2 rings max.
Wow.
And so that was the reason to bring the access to those schools that we sort of didn't have before to Corpus. So in the Valley, Laredo, like that's where we have kids from everywhere.
Yeah.
But South Texas in general, bringing these schools down here, where like they don't miss, like they don't miss it. Like we have some talent that that hasn't been seen yet. It's like they're not missing anymore, and they believe us.
Right.
That's why they come.
Yep.
Marcus, you have anything else?
No, I think in closing, tell the parents or the kids watching this if they want to play for the Banditos, how can they? Do you guys have tryouts?
I know
how do they
I
get
try
connected?
to share.
Yeah.
I share a lot of the stuff, y'all.
Yeah, we
I know Chris real well, so
Yeah.
and we already know to text him. Don't call him.
Yeah. Don't call, but leave a text if I
There
don't
you
answer.
go. There you go.
Or a voicemail.
Right.
There you go.
Call, but leave a text afterwards. I'm not going to answer your first call most likely if it's
Yeah.
a random number.
Yeah.
But no, we usually have tryouts every once in the fall, once in the spring. But it doesn't mean we're not trying to get guys. We're not trying to pick up players and put together teams. And we have they said like on my Facebook page, there's my phone number's on there with a lot of the flyers. Chris Bernal's numbers. Those are probably the 2 guys you need to get in touch with. And we'll if you're we have not saying we're not gonna have room, but if we're always looking to add players and add teams and help kids get, and we're starting to build. Our coaching staff is getting bigger and bigger when it comes to our former college guys, and we're starting to put together programs with Justin Pignon out at Speedology. He runs the Speedology program for us. He's one of our infield, speed coaches. Me, Robert Arredondo take care of the hitting most of the time. We got Juan Richeria as our pitching guy. We got Aaron Gonzalez, another one of our infield dudes. And
also him saying that that's always a plus. A former MLB player, a college player, these guys know they've been there. They've been through the grind like we're talking about. So they know take care of your body, your arms, your speed. So that all goes hand in hand, guys, if you're serious about playing at the next level
100%.
and so forth.
That's sort of one thing we pride ourselves in is that we don't really have a lot of no offense to dads because I'm a dad, but we don't have a lot of dad coaches.
Right.
We try to stay away from that side of the travel ball, and we're trying to get more into if you come and play for us, well, guess what? You got a former dude who played college baseball.
Right.
You got a guy who played pro baseball.
Been through it.
Been through it. So there ain't no favoritism. There ain't no question that you're gonna get experience coaching, experiences and his experiences as a player, through the process, and just obviously played at a high level. You're gonna have good coaching as it is. So,
All right, Marcus, you got anything else? Good.
No, I don't think so. Are you guys only high school?
No,
age?
we do youth, everything.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, we don't really have a T-ball team, but pretty much 7, 8U up,
Okay,
all the way to 18.
And I do
7U,
share it on
18.
the page.
Yeah.
So Wyatt Mathisen with the Banditos, but youth all the way up to high school.
Yep.
So
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm good. You
yeah,
have
I'm good,
anything?
man. So I want to thank y'all, Wyatt, for taking your time
Yeah, we
and
appreciate it,
coming
man.
out, and good information. It's always something different. We're trying to, we've been trying to get also the batter's box, the facilities, and we're trying to involve everybody in this. So
Absolutely.
So I think it's good for everybody to know every part of what it goes into, playing the sport
Absolutely.
of baseball. So,
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate y'all having me. It was awesome.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great. Well, guys, thanks for watching again. Stay tuned for
Yes,
next
sir.
episode, and we'll catch you guys later.
Yep. Thank you.